You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
Fareed Zakaria, I don't know if you're like, this guy's from India, right? He's a Punjab boy. And, but you know, he's been to Harvard, he's pretty well read, he reads a lot of books, and he does a thing on CNN. And, you know, I listened to him give a catalog event of Tribulation Trump's foreign policy the other day. And I'm gonna let you listen to it, and I'm gonna have some comments. Mr. Engineer, I don't know if you have that video. Do you have that video? Roll that video of Fareed Zakaria, Trump's foreign policy, if you will, please.
But first, here's my take. As he moves on to his fourth national security advisor in less than 3 years, it's become clear that Donald Trump's foreign policy is in shambles. It has produced turmoil, but achieved almost nothing. Despite all the boasts, there are no new deals with China, Iran, North Korea, the Taliban, or between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Just uncertainty, disappointment, and lots of bruised feelings. Trump informed the world that he was a great deal maker, yet other than minor changes to NAFTA and the US-Korean Trade Pact, he has achieved little. There are many reasons for this. The Trump administration has been chaotic and undisciplined, bringing the ethos of a mom-and-pop real estate shop to one of the world's largest and most complex institutions, the United States federal government. The central problem, however, is that Trump is a bad negotiator. With both Kim Jong-un and the Taliban, he gave away crucial leverage right from the start. The North Koreans have wanted one-on-one meetings with the US president for decades. Trump gave away that prize right away, hoping to charm Kim into giving up his nuclear weapons. So far, Kim won, Trump zero. With Afghanistan, Trump excoriated President Obama for announcing deadlines for troop withdrawals. And yet, he's done something similar, repeatedly announcing his eagerness to quit, and then being surprised that the Taliban sought to press its advantage. Consider Trump's muddle on Afghanistan. He fired John Bolton, apparently, because Bolton objected to making a deal with the Taliban, except that Trump then canceled talks with the Taliban, effectively agreeing with Bolton. Anyway, with Bolton gone, Trump does have the opportunity to act on his instincts and get something, a new Iran deal. Let's face it, his reimposition of sanctions on Iran has been surprisingly, brutally effective. But Iran is a proud ancient civilization and a canny regional power. It will not simply surrender. It might agree to a new deal, one that achieves more than the Obama Accord. But for this to work, Trump will have to overrule some of his most hawkish advisors and find a path to a real negotiation. The Iranians will likely sit down only if sanctions are suspended during the negotiations. They will want to describe any changes that are made as additional measures to implement the existing deal rather than a new deal. Whatever, that's what diplomats are there for. Trump's goal should be to get the Iranians to agree to extend the time horizon of key parts of the deal by approximately 5 years. He will not be able to make much headway on Iran's ballistic missiles. Iran views them as its defense against the vast Saudi military. On Iran's other regional activities, its support for Hezbollah, for example, it might well be willing to talk, but Trump will have to consider whether this would extend the negotiations into an interminable conversation involving Israel and the broader Middle East. Most important, to get an Iran deal, Trump would have to work against his fundamental urge always to claim total victory. Maybe that works in business, where there are single transactions, though it may explain why so few business people ever do business with Trump again. Anyway, foreign policy is not about solo transactions. It's about long-term relationships. Both sides have their own domestic politics and constituencies. Each needs to be able to say it has achieved success. If Trump can stomach that, he could emerge with something rare in his tenure so far, an actual foreign policy win.
You know, someone wrote me a tweet in the saying, I think this is Maxie Friend, who follows me on Twitter, says, ever try reaching out to Trib Trump? Why complain when maybe he can help you? You're no better than Al Sharpton, for that matter. Tribulation Trump, I think we have to understand, it doesn't really care anything at all about how the world comes or goes except for the Trump brand. And if it's good for Trump business, not necessarily for America, and not necessarily if America is doing well, Trump's brand and Trump's business would do well. But Trump's Trump is incapable of really caring about whether anybody else in America is doing okay. And I think he's under some illusion that America is such a major superpower that ain't nobody gonna really mess with America. Not really. And he can kind of bluster that and, run a lot of, pardon my French, BS on the world. But primarily what Trump likes is that Trump just loves being in front of the camera. He loves it. He gets up every morning and it takes him at least a half an hour to do his hair. I get up, my morning rituals, I gotta shave and shower. I hate shaving. I have to shave every morning. I don't hate it, but if I could go without doing it, I would do it. Trump spends a half an hour every morning doing his hair. And if he has to do an evening event, such as a rally, he has to spend a half an hour with his beautician doing his hair. But for him, that's not loathsome because he loves appearances. He loves looking good. And with respect to what he considers good, I wouldn't say he does. But one needs to understand that Trump doesn't really care anything about anything except, getting photo ops. He loves to talk. He doesn't, and he knows that he's president. He's the most powerful man on the planet. He understands that. He knows that everybody, the rednecks are supporting him because of the immigration policies and because of the decline of the white race. He understands that clearly, and he's playing it to the hill. But Trump will meet Kim Jong-un again and not get anything so much as even a basketball. Dennis Rodman can get more of a deal out of Kim Jong-un than Trump, but Trump doesn't really want a deal. He wants to keep meeting. So the cameras will be on him. So people talk about him. They can see his long blonde hair. They can see how nicely manicured his hair is. He can wear that phony red tie and that red, white, and blue like he's some sort of patriot all the time. He doesn't really care about anything other than Trump. So I think it's important that we recognize that he doesn't look for, can't think about the Iranians. He pulled out the Iranian deal just so people would talk about him. Pulled out of the Paris Peace Accords just so people would talk about him. The only thing that Trump fears is Vladimir Putin and Russia and all them sex tapes that they got on that boy over there in Russia, Trump. But and the fact that the oligarchs, he owes his soul to the oligarchs through financial lending of Deutsche Bank. But beyond that, Trump doesn't really care about anything. I swear, if y'all can spread the word, because they don't listen to me anymore. But you draw up close to some of these white people, and I call them rednecks, right? So let me draw up close to some of these people down in Tennessee, in Oklahoma, and East Texas, and in Louisiana, in Florida, in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Ohio, and Indiana. Ask them a question. These white people, right? All the black people, white people. Say, before Trump ever ran for president, did he ever visit the Bayou? Did he ever attend the Kentucky Derby? Did he ever come to Georgia for anything? Did Trump find any reason to ever go to Houston? He may have a hotel there. Maybe went to a conference, maybe. So I'll extract Houston. But what about Ohio? Cleveland, You have to ask these white people, what is it that Trump has ever done for y'all down in West Virginia coal mine country before he ever ran for president, to demonstrate that at least he had some allegiance You know, he wasn't born in the South. He wasn't born with white people, rednecks. Why do you think he cares anything about you now? And you know, and these white people know the answer. They know he doesn't care anything about them, but that's not what they care about. These white people got the answer. They know Trump don't care nothing about them, ain't never cared nothing about them. I got news for you. They don't care nothing about Trump, except he's protecting their white status. He's protecting their white supremacy, ideals, and potentially protecting them from being an extinct people overrun by brown and black-skinned people. Listen, this is a mutual disrespect affair. Trump don't give two hoots about these poor white people running around there driving these trucks across Kentucky. He don't care nothing about these poor white people in Alabama. He don't care nothing about these poor white people in coal country. Trump don't care nothing about them. In fact, he probably goes to those rallies and looks out there and sees all these poor white folks. Trump would rather see people sitting in tuxedos and people from the Hollywood scene. He would love to get a scene of people to come from Hollywood to see him, but they ain't coming. And they ain't had nothing to do with that boy. And he goes out and he bamboozles. But the other thing is that the truth of the matter, the truth be told, these white folks don't care nothing about Trump. They know he's a shyster. They know he's a liar. They know he's a pathological degenerate. But there's something more important for them. And that's what's more important for them, is that they might be able to save whiteness. And that's just all there is to it. I mean, most people don't like Al Sharpton until they get in trouble. And then Al comes and he got a big mouth and he gets a lot of money doing what they want to do. This is a bit of a news blog we do, looking at spiritual wickedness in high places for the most part, making some observations about it and giving people a biblical foundation to the way of interpreting, rather than have Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Janine Pirro or Anderson Cooper or Rachel Maddow or Don Lemon, Rush Limbaugh interpret what's going on in the world. You come to me and I'll tell you based on what the Word of God says. They'll just give you their worldly, sinful view. But the Manning Report will tell you what God has said, whether to say yea or nay, whether to go or to stay. You'll be led by the word of Almighty God. Come to the Manning Report on a daily basis to interpret the spiritual wickedness in high places, because there's plenty of it that's going on. And so I am he. I'm the Lord's servant, James David Righteous Rebel Manning. And I'm here to serve you with news and information.